Tom Thumb. Once upon a time, a farmer and his wife lived contentedly together in a little cottage. They were quite poor, as the farmer's crops never seemed to do very well, but they managed on the little money that he earned, and they never complained. There was, however, one big disappointment in their lives, and that was that they had never been blessed with any children of their own. The farmer's wife would often sit in the garden and wish that she had a son or daughter to love. One very special day, the farmer's wife was sitting in the garden and wishing with all her heart that she could have a child of her own. "Oh, I do wish I could be blessed with a son or daughter," she whispered to the flowers. "I would love them so much, even if they were no bigger than my thumb." Well, just at that moment, the Queen of the Fairies was passing by, and she heard what the farmer's wife said. "A child no bigger than her thumb?" echoed the Queen of the Fairies. "Well, she looks a kindly lady, so why not?" The Queen of the Fairies had a special gift for granting wishes, and within a flash she had performed her magic. Soon after, the farmer's wife had a beautiful baby boy who was no bigger than her thumb. The farmer and his wife loved their son more than anything in the world, and because of his size, they named him Tom Thumb. Years passed, and Tom Thumb grew older, but he never grew any bigger than his mother's thumb. Each day, he watched his father go out to work in the fields in order to earn a little money. Tom loved his father and wished that he were bigger so that he could help. One morning, as he was getting dressed, he heard his father talking. "I'm going out to chop firewood to sell at the market," said the farmer to his wife. "But I do wish I had someone who could bring the horse and cart to me. Then I could carry back twice as much wood and earn us a little extra money." When his father had gone, Tom Thumb decided that, although he was only small, he could still help his father. Hopping nimbly out of the front door, Tom made his way over to his father's horse and cart. Bravely, he climbed up the horse's leg, through his thick black mane and into his ear. The horse was startled, but Tom spoke soothingly to him in gentle tones. "Don't worry, Neddy, it's only me," whispered Tom kindly. "Now then, I want you to help Father bring back lots of wood. Will you help too?" Neddy whinnied and nodded his head in agreement. Tom gave him a pat on the ear and then told him exactly which way to go. Off they trotted together down the country lanes until they reached the farmer who was busy chopping firewood. "My goodness!" exclaimed the farmer. "My horse has brought himself here on his own." "It's all right, Father. Neddy isn't alone," called Tom from inside the horse's ear. "I brought him." The farmer was very surprised to see Tom sitting in the horse's ear. "Son, that was a very brave thing to do," he said gently. "But why? I can manage on my own." "I wanted to help you, Father," answered Tom Thumb seriously. "You are so kind to me and give me so much. I wanted to do something for you." The farmer was touched at the kindness of his son and was filled with happiness. Unfortunately, he was totally unaware that two thieves had been walking nearby and listening to their conversation. The thieves had spied Tom Thumb and were amazed at how small he was. "Think of how useful that little lad would be in a robbery," grinned the first thief wickedly. "I know," cackled the second thief, as he rubbed his hands together.
"We need to get hold of him."
The two thieves crept out from behind the trees and approached the farmer.
"Excuse me, sir,"
began the first thief,
"but I have a marvellous opportunity for you. If you will give me that small boy you have there, I will give you more money than you have ever seen in your life."
"Absolutely not," cried the farmer in disgust. "I will not sell my son for any amount of money."
"Oh, come on now, my good man,"
whined the second thief.
"Surely you would like to lead a finer life than you do now. Give us the boy, and you can buy everything you ever wanted."
The farmer opened his mouth to protest again, but before he had a chance to speak, Tom whispered in his ear, "Say yes, father, and take their money. I will see that these rogues are dealt with, and be home before you know it." The farmer was not sure that letting Tom go was a good idea, but he could see that his son was absolutely determined. The thieves handed the farmer a large pile of money, took Tom, and went on their way. Tom sat up on the brim of the first thief's hat, so that he would have a good view of where he was going. He wanted to make absolutely sure he would know how to get home again. As they walked, the two thieves explained their plan to Tom.
"There is an old squire who lives 3 hours from here," began the first thief, "and he has piles and piles of gold. We need you to slip through the bars on the window and pass the gold out to us," explained the second thief, his eyes sparkling with greed. "Do you think you can do that?"
"Oh, of course," answered Tom cleverly. "I can do that easily." By the time they arrived at the squire's mansion, it was growing dark.
"This is perfect,"
grinned the first thief.
"We have been keeping an eye on the squire, and he always goes to bed early. As soon as we see the lights go out, you can sneak through the window, Tom."
"All right," whispered Tom, and they sat down to wait. A little while later, the lights went out in the squire's mansion, and the thieves at once jumped to their feet. They crept over to a downstairs window and set Tom down on the ledge.
"Right, now listen carefully,"
whispered the first thief.
"The gold is kept in a chest in the kitchen. You will have to pass it out a little at a time."
"No problem," whispered Tom, and he slipped between the bars on the window and disappeared. After a while, Tom did not reappear, and the thieves began to get impatient. Then, suddenly, he popped up on the window ledge and groaned quietly.
"The gold is too heavy for me,"
he whispered cunningly.
"You will have to come in and get it yourselves. I will unlock the back door."
"All right," whispered the thieves, who were too greedy to see a trap. Tom disappeared again, and within a few minutes, the back door swung open. The thieves crept in and made their way silently towards the kitchen. As soon as they spied the chest with the gold in it, they forgot about everything else and were soon on their knees, filling their sacks to the brim. Tom crept silently out of the kitchen and quietly closed the door behind him. Then he rushed up the stairs of the huge mansion and began to search for the squire's bedroom. It didn't take him long to find it, for he could hear the squire's snores from all the way down the corridor. Tom ran as fast as he could, in through the squire's bedroom door and up onto his bed. Then he crept right up to the squire's ear and shouted as loud as he could, "Wake up! Wake up! There are some robbers in your house, and they're stealing your gold." The squire jumped up in alarm and was immediately wide awake.
"Oh, what was that?"
cried the squire.
"I thought I heard a voice in my ear telling me that someone was stealing my gold."
"You did hear a voice," cried Tom Thumb as loud as he could. "And someone is stealing your gold." The squire spotted Tom Thumb bouncing up and down on the bed and was most astonished.
"Who are you?"
he asked with confusion. "Never mind me," cried Tom. "Go and sort out those thieves." The squire picked up his walking stick and hobbled out of the room. Tom followed him to the bottom of the stairs and then stopped to listen. As the squire entered the kitchen, Tom heard muffled shouts and then the sound of someone crying.
"Ah! Don't hit me with your stick! Ah!"
Tom rushed up to the kitchen door, just in time to see the squire chasing the two thieves out of the back door and down the path. "Let's hope that that's taught them a lesson," laughed Tom. Having dealt with the thieves, Tom decided to find somewhere to sleep for the night, and then to set off home in the morning. He spotted an empty snail shell in the garden that was perfect for a bed, crawled into it, and fell fast asleep. In the morning, he began his journey home, finding it quite easy to tell the way, due to sitting on the first thief's hat the day before. By late afternoon, he was walking up the garden path of his own cottage, and when he reached the front door, he called out cheerfully, "Mother! Father! I am home!" The farmer and his wife rushed out of the cottage, filled with relief at seeing their son return home safe and well.
"Oh, Tom, we were so worried about you," said his mother tearfully.
"I'm sorry to worry you, Mother," said Tom, "but the thieves needed to be taught a lesson. It is important to treat others with kindness and respect." Tom and his mother and father used the money that they had received from the thieves to help all the poor people in the village. From that day on, no one ever thought Tom was too small to achieve anything. He helped his father with his work every day, and the family lived very happily ever after.